Inishnua, Philly's home for contemporary Irish plays, is opening their 21st season with a bold adaptation of the Playboy of the Western World by Nigerian playwright B.C. Adugan and Irish writing icon Roddy Doyle. This spin-off of a classic Irish story is set in modern Dublin as a Nigerian refugee arrives at a rundown pub with a wild tale he hopes will save his life. Major support for the Playboy of the Western World has been provided by the Pew Center for Arts and Heritage, with additional support from the Government of Irish Immigrant Support Program. Get tickets online at inishnuatheater.org. Thrive Flower is Philadelphia's first same-day cannabis delivery. They offer a wide range of products, so you can find something or multiple things that works best for your unique needs. Thrive Flower is selling third-party, lab-tested, real THC products, including flower, pre-rolls, vapes, and gummies. Head to thriveflower.com and use the code CityCastPhilly10 for 10% off your orders. Today on CityCast Philly, we're talking about how Mayor Sherrell Parker endorsed the Sixers arena downtown, Harris and Trump back in the region, and late night food is coming to Fishtown. It's Friday, September 20th. I'm Trinity Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about.
My administration has reached an agreement with the Philadelphia 76ers for an arena in Center City, and I will be transmitting the related legislative package to our City Council of Philadelphia for its consideration, where it must be approved.
All right, that was the big news of the week. Mayor Sherrell Parker announced in a video on X that she has endorsed a plan for the Sixers arena to move to downtown, which is in the Chinatown Fashion District. As many of us know, we have been talking about this story for weeks now, but this has been a long-awaited announcement on where Mayor Parker stood on the proposal. OJ Spivey, sports correspondent for the Philadelphia Tribune, and Jean Son, director of collaborations at Resolve Philadelphia and co-lead at the Philadelphia Journalism Collaborative. Thanks so much for being here on CityCast Philly.
It's great to be here.
Always fun to be here.
What were your reactions when you heard this announcement?
Well, my first thought was, with everything that's been all the chatter and everything that's going down, and especially the state of New Jersey chiming in, saying, hey, move here, move across the river.
Right.
We'll give you all these tax breaks, all these incentives. I just think that just hastened the process for the city and Mayor Sherrell Parker to, kind of push this thing through and go to the next steps.
And it wasn't just Jersey. The Delaware governor also put in a little bid. It was like, come down to the first state. And I was like, I don't know how that would work out.
Well, exactly. Well, ironically, the Sixers do have a base in both Camden, New Jersey and in Wilmington, Delaware, because their training facilities right across the river in Camden, where they were thinking about where the state proposed an arena over there. And then the Sixers minor league team, G League team, I should say, the Wilmington Bluecoats, they are stationed in Delaware.
Yeah.
But I just think what Mayor Parker did this week to go on record and just say that, she approves the arena and she will introduce a proposal over to City Council.
Jean, how do you feel about this?
I was not at all surprised that the mayor was going to approve this.
Same.
I think what was a little surprising was it feels rushed between when the impact analysis came out and now here we have a decision. Like that, those analyses took forever. Like if anything is rushed, is because that took so long. It's not because of like the conversation and also it seems weird that like the mayor delivers that news without the substance of what she negotiated.
Right.
That we're going to have to wait to get that level of detail. And, people who were in the meeting with the Chinatown opponents of the arena, what they said afterwards, plus what the mayor said in her video announcement, said, I listened to you, I hear you, and I negotiated the best deal I could, but we don't know what's in that deal and what's not.
Right. I also feel like I totally agree with you, Jean. And I also feel like, well, what was the like purpose of the town hall that happened? And then in the video, she says that there's going to be more town halls. And I'm just like, for what though? Like, y'all made the decision.
I mean, like the city's own reports raised some serious concerns of the effect on Chinatown. And yet we don't know what, and it seems like, yes, I think it's great that this is a situation where like tax dollars are not being thrown at billionaires to build an arena. That's good. And it's also being built in a place where there's lots of public transit. That's good. And not necessarily how it happens in a lot of other cities. But the fact that we haven't had that much time to read through the hundreds of pages of reports and folks haven't really had a chance to talk directly to the mayor with the benefit of it, other than that one meeting at the convention center, which was also hurried. It was like announced on Sunday night, and then there it was on Wednesday evening. It's like, it seems like after waiting months and months and months, everything's just being compacted.
Yeah. And that was a day after former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris debate in the city, which was like, the nation was watching that. And then the next day, we have to talk about this other thing that's, super big in Philly. I read in the Inquirer that City Council member Mark Squilla, who actually represents this district, said that he wants to make sure that there's enough safeguards in place to make sure that this is a viable project. So we'll surely keep our eyes out on how council, decides as we go on with this story. It was not surprising that also in some of the reporting from the Inquirer that business leaders responded to this, right? Ryan Boyer, head of the Philadelphia Building and Construction Trades Council, who is a close ally to Parker, said that this would create thousands of jobs. Mark Lynch, business manager of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 98. He said that Parker's decision was took political courage and vision. And we saw this week also that there were protests at City Hall. So, this is going to be one of those moments when we look back on Parker's administration as a pivotal moment on how things play out.
I mean, there's just such a lack of trust in Chinatown that they will point to actually reporting done from our collaborative through Metro Philadelphia that in Camden, where the Sixers got, I think it was more than $100 million in tax breaks, they employed 11 Camden residents. In that big facility. And so when they hear, we want to be a good neighbor, there's how can we really bet on that? Can we really be sure? And the talking about that accountability that you raise is really key. And are there things in the agreement that can hold them to making good on stuff? Especially given that there isn't tax money being spent specifically for this project.
Just from the Sixers standpoint, and I've talked to them about this several times, and, it just comes down to they no longer want to be tenants at the Wells Fargo Center. I mean, I get that from a business standpoint. They pay millions of dollars of rent. I mean, nobody is going to be sensitive to billionaires who are, forced to pay millions of dollars of rent. But also from an NBA standpoint, I think they have their hands in this too, especially because WNBA fans who really want a franchise in Philadelphia, I think this is all connected.
That's a good point.
And this is probably a reason why Philadelphia has not been awarded a WNBA team, being the big market that it is. I mean, we've seen San Francisco get a team, Toronto get a team, and this week Portland as well. So I think the arena status is kind of what they were waiting for. And I also have a strong theory that this is a package deal. And the NBA and the WNBA is looking at, okay, what's the arena situation going to look like before we award Philadelphia a team, which I think will happen at some point.
Interesting. Well, we will definitely keep our eyes on this story. More news of the week after the break.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV Insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
All right, let's get into another news story. Vice President Kamala Harris was in Philly this week. And as we know, she spent a lot of time so far this month in the city campaigning as the Democratic nominee for president. Pennsylvania is a swing state, which is why we've seen both campaigns, the Democrats and Republicans, spend time in our state and in Philadelphia. OJ, you were at the event hosted by WHYY and the National Association of Black Journalists. There were 3 panelists who asked Harris several different questions about various issues like the economy, reproductive health rights, the war in Gaza, and engagement with Black voters. OJ, was there anything that stood out to you during this event that may be different from what we've heard from her, especially at the debate that she had with Trump?
Well, first thing is I am a member of the National Association of Black Journalists, and I was an attendee, not as a journalist per se, but as a member. And I don't think she really said anything out of the ordinary from what we've heard before. It's kind of like the same points that she's made and even like doubled down on. But what I thought was the panelists asked fair and important questions. And one of the most interesting things was I thought Vice President Harris pushed back a little bit on some of the questions. I think maybe she's kind of taken aback because of the audience and that it was Black journalists interviewing her. Maybe she thought it would be a little bit of softballs or something. But I commend the panelists for, asking those tough and important questions. And then after she pushed back, I believe she understood the magnitude and the importance of why those questions were asked. And I thought overall it was good, but I don't think she really gave anything that was necessarily anything new or necessarily anything enlightening. But I just think just with the platform and, a different demographic and, going after the Black vote, particularly the Black male vote, trying to convince them as well. I think that's the point that she was trying to give and just trying to gain those votes. And of course, we know Pennsylvania as a state itself is one of the swing states. So, and that kind of explains why she's made so many visits here.
Now that I'm thinking about it, NABJ also had a chat with Trump this summer at their national convention that didn't go as planned. There were a lot of headlines that came out of that. Do you feel like this maybe like intimate setting helped Harris in any way?
Yes, I think so. And not even so much Harris, but I think it helped the organization as well, because an ABJ did take a lot of criticism for even having Trump there.
Yeah.
But the mission of their organization, when they have their conventions every year, and if it is a presidential year, is to bring in the candidates and interview them for their membership. So journalists, especially political journalists, Black political journalists, can cover the candidates. So they can, have more tools and more resources to do their job. And it just happened to be, just a dumpster fire, I think, for everybody involved.
Jean, you're familiar with presidential campaigns with just a few months left of this campaign. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, thank God. But what do you think we can expect next from the Harris and Trump campaigns?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I saw get the most coverage from Vice President Harris's interview at NABJ was her talking about the effects on Springfield, Ohio, for what former President Trump had raised these lies about, immigrants allegedly eating pets there, and how that's led to all these bomb threats. The governor of Ohio has brought in like state troopers to do bomb sweeps in the schools in order to further. And she talked so, I think, compellingly about how, the closure of those schools interfered with things like school picture day. And I feel like she was, that got a lot of attention because it's such a stark contrast. And she really called out Trump for saying that all his comments were rooted in anti-immigrant racist tropes. And think of the contrast between that versus when Trump spoke to NABJ, he questioned whether VP Harris is Black.
Right.
And those are the things that really caught my eye and ear and seemed to get a lot of coverage. The thing that I was expecting more of but didn't get was VP Harris talking more about ways that she and President Biden differ.
Former President Donald Trump is expected to make a stop in our area in Bucks County on Sunday, according to the Inquirer. Trump will visit the National Shrine of Our Lady of Czestochowa in Doylestown. This depicts the Virgin Mary, which is significant to Polish Catholics. There's no word yet just on what time he's making his visit. More news of the week after the break.
Revolutionary artist Pharrell Williams invites you to Piece by Piece, a first-of-its-kind Lego movie event.
What if we told my story with Lego pieces?
Let's do it. Discover what it takes to build the greatest hits with Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, Justin Timberlake, Pusha T, Gwen Stefani, and Snoop Dogg.
I was always a bad gangster, but you brought out the fun in me.
Hell yeah.
Piece by Piece. Get tickets now for Piece by Piece. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Directed by Morgan Neville. Only in theaters October 11th.
All right, before we enjoy our weekend, let's talk about some good news. So I read this story in the events blog, Water Ice, that a late night food truck market is coming to Fishtown next month. I'm really excited about this. So Raheem Manning, who is the director of nighttime economy and business development for the city, or a lot of people around town call him the night mayor. He's teaming up with the Fishtown district to create a food truck marketplace that will serve food at the lot behind the Fillmore. And they're going to start this on Thursday, October 3rd at 8 p.m., which is actually a day after my birthday. So I'm really excited. But the marketplace will serve a diverse array of food and drinks. And they also mentioned that they're going to be operating this marketplace away from residential areas and that it will be run from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. What do you guys think about this new initiative?
I think it's a great idea. First of all, by the way, it'd be a little different. Might have to want to drink a little bit of coffee before you hang out all night. I mean, and
Right.
I haven't probably been on that strip or probably been, hanging out since, my club days when I was much younger. But I just think it's a great idea and it's a little different for the city. Everybody loves a food truck festival because, you have them all throughout the year, especially in the summer. But I just think to just have the people out at night and then just enjoy food and the trucks and everything. And hopefully it's a little family friendly too for, people with children. But I just think it's a great idea and also thinking out of the box.
Now, I'm concerned about parking because have you been down there in a while? There is no place to park. So that's my concern. But yes, I'm really excited to see which food trucks will be down there and just how all of this works also with that, let out. The club let out with maybe some behaviors, you know what I mean? Let's
Last
just
call,
see.
right?
Yeah, let's see how that all works out. Gene, what do you think about this?
I think it's great for other people. I am one of those people who's more of an early to bed kind of person. So out to 4 a.m. is not my thing. I'm hoping that they are making good on the being good neighbors and not having it in a place where it's going to be keeping people up all night.
For sure.
Who aren't showing up there on purpose yet.
Right. Now, if you could expand this initiative in another neighborhood in the city, where do you think they should put this?
That's a good question. The first thing that comes to mind is maybe at one of the college campuses, perhaps Penn or Drexel. And, it's not necessarily in a residential area, even though it's still, quote unquote, West Philly. They have, a lot of that corridor. And I just think if you just have it on one of their grassy areas or one of the main areas of the campus, and, I don't know how that works from a Temple standpoint, not necessarily because that's, a little more condensed as far as residential, But, I just think that probably be a decent idea for students to kind of, not think about school for a few hours.
Well, you know what? I graduated from Temple, and they have like certain like streets that are, filled with food trucks, similar to like Drexel and on Penn. And I feel like maybe they could just extend those hours, invite more trucks, maybe block off some streets so that people can like walk in the street, have, more access so they don't have to worry about the cars and things like that. So yeah, maybe that would be good. Gene, what about you? Where should they expand this if they could?
Like maybe in the summer they would give it a try outside either the Dell or the Man. Like, so like you have like people letting out after a big concert and like, something to do. And so everyone isn't trying to get out of there all at once.
Yes. I like the Dell area because there really isn't a lot of food, like immediate food options in that Strawberry Mansion area.
Yeah, it's a great idea, by the way. Right.
That is a good idea. Okay. Let's talk about another good news story. Gene, you want to talk about this bike club in Germantown?
Yeah. So I was reading Germantown Info Hub, and they had a story on the Fernhill Bike Club, which is not, lots of people decked out in spandex on super expensive bikes, but it's like a family bike club, lots of kids, and they go biking in Fernhill Park. And it's great because kids really get that kind of carefree time on their bike where they're not nervously looking over their shoulder at cars.
Right.
And it's like they organize snacks and drinks and stuff like it. It just seemed very cool.
Yes. And last year I spoke with Ajua Abroka. She is the founder of She Is Focus, which is a cycling group for women in Philly. And we'll have a link to that episode in our show notes. Okay, another feel-good news story is about girls flag football. The PIAA Board of Directors finally approved girls flag football as a state-sanctioned sport in Pennsylvania. So according to the Inquirer, more than 100 schools in the Commonwealth plan to start a girls flag football program next fall for the 2025-2026 school year. I cannot wait to see this sport just flourish and grow in the Commonwealth. I'm going to date myself, but back in '06, class of '06, at Upper Darby High School, we used to have this like tradition between the junior girls and the senior girls. And we would do like a flag football game, and '06 won. We beat both times. But yes, this is finally a sport that's been talked about. It's gotten more attention over the years. And I'm just excited to see this finally happen.
Yeah, girls flag football is literally the fastest growing sport in America. And it's really, as the NFL, who they're heavily involved as well, it's growing. And not only that, it will be an Olympic sport come 2028 when the Summer Games return to the United States, and they're going to be in Los Angeles. So that's how fast the sport is growing. But from a local standpoint, they've been trying to get it sanctioned for a couple of years now. And the Philadelphia Eagles, they're heavily invested in growing the game of girls flag football, and invested to the point where they make sure that all of the girls in the area, southeastern Pennsylvania, Delaware, South Jersey, they not only make their facilities available to play games and play, the championship every year, they also provide equipment, anywhere from sports bras to the footballs, the flags. And again, they open up their fields for teams to play, especially those who don't necessarily have a place to play. And they started from, I believe, about a dozen teams, I think going back 3 years ago. And currently between the three states, there are over 100 teams right now. And like you said, Trinae, it's going to be at least 100 more teams, at least throughout Pennsylvania, who will want to participate. And that covers the public, private, and parochial schools. So they all get involved. It's very competitive. And I think the great thing is, as well, is a lot of colleges now are starting girls flag football programs. So there'll be opportunities for scholarships for these young ladies to not only play in high school, but to play above and beyond.
Nice. All right, that was OJ Spivey, sports correspondent for the Philadelphia Tribune, and Jean Son, director of collaborations at Resolve Philadelphia and co-lead of the Philadelphia Journalism Collaborative. Thank you both so much for joining me on CityCast Philly.
Thank you, Trinae. Always fun to be here.
Thanks, Trinae.
It's time for the tip of the week, where we share a life hack for living in Philly. Speaking of food trucks, the Philadelphia Loves Fresh initiative brings fresh produce to West and Southwest Philly with a partnership between local food trucks and the Department of Public Health. These trucks offer affordable and convenient fresh produce. You can find more information about these trucks by checking out their map on their website. We'll have a link in our show notes. If you have a tip of the week, we'd love to hear from you too. Call or text us at 215-259-8170. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Our producers are Abby Fritz and Adam Sage. Our Hey Philly newsletter editor is Asha Prihar. And our host is me, Trinae Nuri. Music is by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from All the Kimonos and James Weldon. If you enjoy the show, tell a friend who also loves to go to a food truck. Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Philly. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe, y'all. Bye.